Today, my guest is an extraordinary artist. She's an actress, she is a dancer, she's a choreographer, a writer, and a creator of a web series called Almost Asian, which is hilarious. Let's put our little snaps together for the beauty that is Katie Malia. What kind of Asian are you?
Oh, this question. If you're mixed, it's a loaded question. So I guess the short answer is I'm half Japanese.
Mhm.
You asked what kind of Asian I am. What kind of is interesting when you ask that question, you can kind of see on the sliding scale of where somebody is at. I think mixed people are kind of all over the place at
Mhm.
times because you're in this evolution of finding yourself.
Do you feel that this question takes on a different weight for you than it has in the past?
Uh, it has because there's this, there's this. I don't even want to say responsibility as an Asian. It's a responsibility as a human. It's a responsibility as a woman. But yes, specifically as an Asian woman, that there is this call to join, this community that's calling out these hate crimes and these violence. At the same time, it's our whiteness, and I'm specifically talking about half Asian, half white. There's this whiteness that we also see through that lens, and so we feel that guilt or that
Mhm.
complexity that makes this movement an interesting seesaw. Um, but maybe I just overcomplicated it. You also know, like, your white side is, the oppressor that has gotten your minority side to this place, and it's this internal warfare.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. I'm like a product of World War II, and like World War III is here. Maybe World War IV is here. I don't know. It's together. It's like,
How did you start doing what you're doing, and what would you consider yourself?
As a dancer, I started when I was 5. My mom was also a dancer, and so she encouraged me to explore the arts. It took 20 years in the industry as a dancer to then get on stage and start speaking.
Mhm.
And then that progressed into comedy and improv and stand up, and then writing, and then selling my show.
How do you feel like your racial identity has played a role in who you are?
I don't know where I'm at today. I don't know how to define myself. I feel this sadness and protection for my mom to, as a full Asian American woman, to speak out against it. But then I feel this extreme sensitivity and sadness for what we've been experiencing in isolation, that I just want to stay quiet, and I get really sad and depressed. But I guess in the more general sense, my racial identity has made me see things from both sides.
Because you mentioned your mom and sort of having a little bit more, not concern, but awareness about what
Of
she might be
course,
going through.
sure.
Uh, did she ever express what her childhood was like?
She grew up in Utah. Her family fled Terminal Island here in Los Angeles, um, to not have to go to Manzanar, the internment camp. So they were fishermen, and then they became farmers, something they had absolutely no skill set. And then she returned back to Los Angeles, grew up in Hollywood, and then went to college in Irvine. And I asked her, what was it like being in Irvine in the 70s? You must have experienced, overt racism. And she said, it actually was very different. It seemed not as it wasn't as vitriol. It wasn't the Proud Boys. It wasn't, it wasn't in your face so much, literally in your face. She said it was more kind of subtle, which I find to be interesting. I'm like, was it subtle though, or were you just, like, that's just how life was.
Mhm.
But that generation, way more my grandparents than my mom, like they just don't talk about it. They're survivors and they need to put food on the table. So it's like racism is just, yeah, that's everyday life. It's just what you live with.
I want to talk about Almost Asian.
Almost Asian was a really special time. It was a special vehicle for putting all of my insecurities out to the world. And it became like group therapy, which I honestly didn't expect. It was my brother and I just creating some episodes for fun, and then it snowballed and the conversation really caught fire. The tagline for Almost Asian has been half Japanese, half German, 100% confused.
There's the one episode where you're going to an audition and you go into a room of all full, everyone's a full Asian. And your immediate is like, fuck.
The fast track to feeling a sense of belonging was to change the external, which also was something that I got asked to do repeatedly. Can you look more Asian in your headshots? Can you cut your, I remember being on set for, and I'm just going to say it, even though I signed that goddamn NDA, I was for an Apple commercial and they're like, can we cut your, the client's asking if you can cut your bangs to look more Asian. And it's like, but I'm a human. I don't need to cut my bangs to be Japanese. So that episode where I'm, changing my eyelids is this deep internalization or externalization of the internal conflict that I'm like, that's where I was at.
Was there a really defining experience for you growing up of racism?
I would say I'm fortunate in the sense that, or privileged in the sense that I am white passing. So I didn't experience the overt racism. It was microaggression. Maybe you should take on your mom's maiden last name so we can identify you. And it was these why can't I just be seen for who I am? And that's hopefully the space that I can evolve and embody. But it's interestingly enough, I got racism. It's a hard word to use. I don't know if it was necessarily racism, but I got a lot of hate from the mixed race male community and Asian male community online that troll half Asian women that are products of a white male, Asian female household. It makes me sad that these Asian guys are coming at half Asian women who are the product of what they see is trophyism, the white savior, that our mothers married white men to climb the white social ladder, and therefore we have a deep self-hatred of ourselves, which I'm like, yeah, but so do you. So
that's exactly. Yeah.
We're all
but you too.
We're all in this together. We're all just stumbling our way through life.
Would you change the name of your show now? Because that was an insight into a time in your life, that you felt a certain way, and not that those things are completely, that you've moved through them completely, but it's a different time. We have had another year, a year where it was so intense, when there was so much self-reflection hopefully happening. And the world is different. And
first of all, I don't like the word almost at this point in time in my life. It feels scarce. It feels lack. Asian to me feels like this knee-jerk reaction to grasp onto an identity because of a culture, which I feel American more than Japanese, if a Japanese American, I guess. And it all feels really desperate. And right now I just want to be enough. It's I'm really working on just showing up is enough.
I don't even want to, I mean, that's like perfect.
Yeah.